I played Tides of Annihilation in China at a special event, and man, I'm kind of blown away by what this game is shaping up to be. The first trailer we saw at a State of Play last year already promised a very interesting setting, a completely destroyed present-day London mixed with a more magical fantasy world inspired by Arthurian legend. But this game is so much more. While they totally looked at Souls-likes for certain design decisions, this is actually an action-adventure game first and foremost, with difficulty settings you can change at any point. But I was mostly surprised by the very impactful RPG elements that let you create different builds and change the way you play. So tons to go over, thanks to Eclipse Glow Games for letting me go hands-on and sponsoring this video. My demo started in the British Museum. The developers actually traveled to London often so they could recreate many of its landmarks for the game. And the cool part about this museum on the Russell Street in London is that it's known for exhibitions focused on many cultures and time periods. So the game took this opportunity to highlight some different mythologies. At one point you reach the Egyptian gallery with puzzles that involve selecting the right Egyptian hieroglyphs by looking around the exhibition, which, when done successfully, leads to a boss fight with Anubis himself. But there was also a Chinese and Japanese section of the museum where you could learn more about their respective cultures, but also fight an optional samurai boss. The variety on display in this short session is really incredible, as at one point you are platforming and fighting your way through the different galleries, while an hour later you are in a more open desert, solving small puzzles and taking out enemies for special chests. You can overall compare Tides of Annihilation's level design a lot to that of Stellar Blade or the first Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's a linear path through a level, but sometimes also wider spaces to explore. And if you take the time to look around, you will find many secrets, like collectibles that reveal more about the world that once was, resources and currencies that can help you upgrade your character, and actual equipment like new swords and special badges to make our main character Gwendolyn stronger. But I was also sometimes surprised, as at one point I found a challenge realm with an optional boss, defeat it to get a very strong chest piece. Now the gear items you equip do not change your look, but there are full outfits that do. I really liked the Immortal Sans regalia I found, once again inspired by the Egyptian mythology, and the amazing Crimson Rose was really cool too. The designs are certainly on point, and because these are just cosmetic, you can always look the way you want without it impacting your gameplay. So Gwen is a very capable fighter on her own, as she has different combos with her weapon and cool finishing moves. But what makes the gameplay stand out are the Knights of the Round Table that you can control during combat. You have a main knight who is more intertwined with your regular combos, so they can be used to extend different moves with a powerful attack, while your sub-knight has more of a support role. So they can fight alongside you for a brief moment, or do a special attack to launch enemies into the air, slow them down, or freeze them altogether. I quickly realized that freezing an enemy in place when my ultimate was ready was an amazing combo to make sure the boss would get hit by the full power of this ability. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, as you can combine any main knight with any sub-knight and even switch between two sets of knights on the fly. And it's super satisfying to figure out a new combination and then successfully pull the combo off. I looked around in the menus and it seems like there are 6 main knights and 4 sub-knights, and after unlocking a new knight, a new tutorial becomes available that lets you get familiar with their moves. During my demo, I unlocked the Wind Knight Geharis, so I could already get a preview that revealed that this later game knight offers even more depth than the knights that I was using before. Geharis has its own unique resource that you can build up and then spend on powerful attacks, and there was even a stance that I had to time right to pull off an even more powerful attack. The amount of variety and options in this game are really impressive. And what's also awesome is that these knights are not only very capable combat companions, but can also be used outside of combat, like for traversal. There's one knight that can let you move heavy objects, or they have to be used to access special locations. The game features the familiar bonfire style checkpoints that you can unlock and then fast travel between. So totally expect to return to some locations you've already been to in order to access a new area because you have unlocked a new knight or ability. And you will want to do that, because if the items I found during this demo are any indication of the equipment that will be hidden throughout the whole game, then it's all worth getting. I could find multiple swords that, next to their unique designs, also offered different playstyles, like dealing more damage to airborne targets or getting health back on hit. In terms of gear, you got gloves, chest pieces and boots that, next to armor stats, also have different effects, like increasing your attack after defeating enemies, and one item even had a one-time revive when you would die. But there are also badges that can completely alter the way you play, like one that would remove access to my regular potions, but instead give me 25% lifesteal. So with that equipped, I was forced to play more aggressively to get my health back. And this completely changed how I approached the different boss fights, as instead of finding a quiet moment to heal, I had to use these short windows to barrage them with attacks to stay in the fight. And these bosses are really awesome, by the way, all completely different, and especially the main bosses were very cinematic. The Anubis fight had multiple stages with tons of different attacks to dodge, so it never felt like he was just repeating the same moves. While it can look overwhelming, the normal difficulty was actually quite forgiving, also because the game would save between boss stages, so you could immediately start at the second phase. Although if you are up for it, they can of course also try to fight on the hardest difficulty, as then you will die in just a few hits. I also love how important jumping is. A yellow glowing attack from an enemy means that you have to time your jump right to avoid it, but I found that jumping around and staying in the air is actually a very smart tactic to avoid many attacks. And just like in similar action games, your abilities in Tides of Annihilation also have different uses depending on whether you are airborne or on the ground. The familiar red glowing attacks are also present here, and if you time your parry right, you will perform a powerful counter, but I do feel that they could still improve this a bit, because right now it feels a bit delayed and doesn't have the satisfying feedback that you would expect from a successful counter attack. Also, the special takedowns you can do when you deplete an enemy's stagger bar often don't feel as seamless as I would want, as you often skip some animations to play out the finisher perfectly, which kind of takes you out of the action. Another small nitpick was the fact that you cannot change your gear during combat, and retrying a boss means that you are immediately back into the fight. So if you want to change something, you have to go further back to your last checkpoint, which sometimes means that you have to do previous boss phases you've already completed again. But really, these are just small things that could still be ironed out, because normally when I play a very polished demo like this, the launch is a few months away. But I asked the developers about a release date for this game, and they still don't want to commit to anything yet. So it really feels like they got the time to make this as good as possible, even though it already felt close to being done, which makes me believe that we're looking at an August or September 2027 launch. They also did not want to give more details on the progression system, but like I said, there was already a lot here. I did not even mention the store that you can buy items from, and I could also upgrade equipment I found using resources that were hidden in the level. And you can make it even more of an RPG if you want by turning on damage numbers, so you can more clearly see the impact of your upgrades. I was always interested in Tides of Annihilation, but now it's shot up to one of my most anticipated games. Like, this has the chance to be a very special title, which is a huge feat for a studio that has never launched a AAA game before. The only question mark is still the story, as while I did experience some cutscenes, it did not give me enough to get a good sense of the overall quality of the narrative. But in terms of gameplay, if the full game is as good as the demo, then we're in for a treat. Totally, if you have any questions about the game, drop them down below and I will do my best to answer them. You can also wishlist the game through the link in the video description. That would support the channel as well. Subscribe, leave a like, and I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.